If, like me, you like to be really prepared for the next expansion and you're already thinking about getting prepared, ready for Mr. Pandaria, then there's a few things that you could be doing, but there's one thing that I want to talk about that you absolutely should be doing. And if you saw my video where I was talking about professions, you probably already know what it is. Right now, you could be getting all the pets that you're missing ready for pet battles. You could even be preparing like I am for a monk, so getting profession kits ready, getting items that are just going to help you level from, because you're going to have to start from level 1 as a monk, remember? So getting stuff ready to make that journey as quick as possible. Or even if you're planning on leveling just a Pandaran that's not necessarily a monk, you might be getting stuff ready for that as well. But there's definitely one that's far more important, and that's your professions on your alts. Now, it's no big secret at the beginning of every expansion, having all of your alts set up with the right professions, which is not only going to make lots of gold, but it's also going to help you in ways that maybe in Mist of Pandaria it's quite unique. The professions I'm talking about in particular are Inscription and Alchemy. Now, I'm not going to talk a great deal about Alchemy purely because the main benefit of being Alchemy and having lots of alchemists is to make living still. Now, living still is just needed for lots of things throughout Mr. Pandaria, but early on it's going to be particularly useful for things even as simple as belt buckles. Yes, belt buckles need living still, which is a daily cooldown. So having lots of transmute masters to hopefully get procs on your living still, to be able to sell them to people that need belt buckles, and of course the sort of 476 eye level crafted gear, which is the highest item level of gear outside of reputations that you're going to be able to get before you go into your first raid. So living still early on will always hold a really good value, so being able to actually use this on multiple characters each day and just pumping them out as transmute masters is going to be huge. But that is pretty much where it stops. That's why I want to spend more time talking about Inscription, which absolutely does have far more benefits than just being able to make Dark Moon cards. Because of course, the reason you're going to go Inscription, and you're going to want Inscription on multiple characters, maybe even like me, having it on your main to begin with, is definitely what you want to do. I personally am not going to have a single one of my characters not have Inscription for at least the first few weeks of Mist of Pandaria launching. And the reason for that is even just the combat bonus that you get from it, from getting a much bigger shoulder enchant, is still pretty much equal to every other profession. There's kind of not much reason not to have Inscription even on your main. Now, the reason it's so good is mainly because of Dark Moon card trinkets, but I'm going to throw a couple of extra reasons in as well. Some of these Dark Moon Fair decks are absolutely amazing, and you'll be using them all the way through the first phase of content, so you're going to want to get one as soon as possible, because things like the Tigers deck, which is an agility passive and agility proc, is huge. There's practically no trinkets that you can get where it's your primary stat on just passive and primary stat on proc. Of course, there's a Tigers version of it for strength users as well, and then the Serpent's trinket, which is the intellect trinket for casters, again is absolutely massive as well. Tigers generally will be the most expensive decks out of all of them just because of lack of options as strength and agility users, but the Serpent's decks all sell really well, as will the Relic of Chi-Ji, which is the healing trinket, but to be completely honest, outside of the tank one, which is kind of garbage as well, which is the Nizuao, Relic of Nizuao, this is not really mandatory for healers. I personally will want to get it on my healers, but it's probably one that you're going to see value of drop quite quickly. But still, in terms of pre-raid bis and getting the best gear that you can ready for your first night's raiding, all of your healers are going to want this as well. It's just not going to last quite as long. Now, that's great. You know about the trinkets, but the pain in making them is each inscription or each scribe can only make one card per day. And when I say one per day, that's assuming that you're doing a lot of farming or you've got a lot of gold to buy herbs. Because having your army of alts all set up as Inscription so you can make a scroll of wisdom each day, which is the daily cooldown, and that daily cooldown is needed to be able to make a card, it's great that you're going to be able to potentially make like 10 cards a day if you've got 10 scribes. But honestly, it's a lot of herbs that you need to mill to make the inks to be able to make the card as well. So the one negative I would say is, yes, you'll be able to pump out more cards the more scribes you've got, but just bear in mind you're going to need more gold behind you to buy the herbs, or you're going to have to pretty much spend all of your time herbing yourself. Now, the good thing is most guilds like our own will pull together, and each of you will have a herbalist alt where you'll be depositing herbs daily into the guild bank anyway, hopefully enough to cover everybody's card usage. But this is a big bottleneck. There's only one other way to get these Scrolls of Wisdom that's reliable, and that's a weekly quest. And now the weekly quest is weekly, as it sounds. So you can only get one extra scroll, so we could say one extra card per character per week, but it also takes a lot of farming, because it takes 5 to 6 Spirits of Harmony, so each week you would have to farm 5 or 6, depending on which quest it is, Spirits of Harmony, to actually be able to complete the quest, and that's not going to be quick. Arguably, the quest is kind of not worth doing, just for that one extra scroll that you're then going to need even more extra herbs for anyway, not only just to complete the quest, but then to make another card. I'd be on the fence whether I would bother doing it. I will probably do the weekly on maybe 2 characters at most, but there's no way all of my alts are going to be doing it, because I'm going to be going into MoP with 12 scribes and 12 alchemists. So trying to keep up with all of that Spirit of Harmony farming would be an absolute nightmare. And if you're not sure on what Spirits of Harmony are, don't worry, they're not like Chaos Orbs that you get from dungeons. These you can just farm in the open world. You get 10 Motes of Harmony, and you combine them into one spirit. But it's not like every single mob drops a mote, you know, it can take a while. But once you get your farms up and running at Half Hill, which I'll have a video coming out about that soon, then you can actually get more. But it's the time investment to actually get all of that set up. But long term, then yeah, Spirits of Harmony are not going to be an issue. But early on, you're not really going to want to be wasting 5 at a time on each character just to get a weekly quest done. But anyway, the point is you want as many scribes as possible, so you've got as much chance of getting the decks that you need and making cards that you don't need and then trading them with people or trading them with, you know, in trade chat in your guild, like whatever you need to do. But it will be incredibly important to maximize the amount of cards that you are pumping out just so you can get those decks quicker. Now, obviously, at this moment in time, we don't know how long it's going to be before Darkmoon Faire is actually available, and if it's even available before the raid, but that kind of doesn't matter. You know, whether you've got a few weeks or you've got a few days, you can make so much gold the more scribes that you've got, because once you've got the deck that you want and you're selling these like Tigers cards, for example, you're going to make a lot of gold. But Darkmoon decks are not the only reason you're going to want at least one spare scribe that you're not going to be worrying about cards with. And that's purely because of these bind on account weapons. They're absolutely amazing. 476 eye level, it's going to take 20 days because it's 20 scrolls, so 20 days worth of dailies to actually be able to get. But undoubtedly, you're going to be probably leveling multiple characters during Mist of Pandaria. So actually having either the agility staff or the more hit sort of caster staff or the healer staff, or maybe all three eventually. So every time you ding level 90 on an ult, you've instantly got like a really good weapon, better than any weapon outside of some really big luck from getting an epic weapon from Temple of Jade Serpent, for example. But you're going to have an absolutely banging weapon to be able to use instantly. So again, if you wanted all 3 of these as quickly as possible, that would need 3 scribes. You'd have 3 scribes, and after 20 days, you'd have all 3 bind on account weapons, which honestly is something that I'm kind of leaning towards doing, because I really am a sucker for ults. I can't wait to actually level loads of characters in MoP, and having that weapon as soon as you ding level 90 feels pretty bloody great, especially because you know you're going to use it multiple times, so you'll put the best enchant on it that you can, like Jade Spirit or something. Now, if you think that's it, that's not it. The shoulder enchants are no longer from reputations, they're from scribes. And these shoulder enchants will be selling left, right, centre. You think at the start of an expansion where people are like upgrading different items several times before they get the exact ones that they want, and to be honest, that's more rife in Mr. Pandaria than anywhere else, because there's a lot of options of gear in each slot, and it's just the secondary stats that change. So you might get a pair of shoulders with crit haste on, and you'll go to the auction house and buy shoulder enchant. The next run you might get haste mastery shoulders, which they're actually what you want, and you'll re-enchant them ones as well. So the shoulder enchants are going to have a lot of value. So in terms of being able to make gold, you're also, outside of just your daily cooldowns for cards and trying to make your BOA weapons, you're also going to be able to make shoulder enchants to sell. There's a blue version and an epic version, and I honestly expect these to hold their value for a long time, quite honestly, a really long time. But you can also make some offhands as well, which is 5 days worth of dailies, and you can make a 476 offhand. And there's going to be certain classes that are going to use a particular wand that comes from Mogasham Vaults, and if that drops and they haven't got an offhand from, well, the raid, because really you're not going to want a dungeon offhand where you can have a better one that you can buy, these are going to sell on the auction house as well. And obviously, if you're a character that can use an offhand, you might want to use 5 days of your dailies to actually make yourself one anyway. Now, I'm not going to try and kid anyone into thinking that really you're going scribe for much more than the BOA weapons and the cards, because let's face it, my #1 reason I'm going to have so many scribes is for cards. And just in case you wondered, I have started already. I've done 5 or 6 scribes in the last couple of days, and if you want to know how I'm doing it, because it's not costing a lot of gold, I was really, really shocked. So I'll just give you a bit of info about that just in case you want to follow it, even though it's not probably the cheapest way, even though I've not actually compared stacks of herbs versus other stacks of herbs. But once I'd got the initial scribe done, which was already done anyway, literally buying any Cinderbloom and Stormvine or any of the really cheap Cataclysm herbs for like 1 gold each, maybe less than 1 gold each, you're looking at about 1,500 gold, and you're going to get to the point where you can mill the Cataclysm herbs on your scribe anyway, which you're then going to mill them so you can make some of the ink, and it just makes it really brain dead. I spent about 5,000 gold on herbs, sat there just milling everything, and then divided all the inks up between a few characters, sent them off, and boom, all of them were now actually at the Cataclysm level of Inscription. They weren't 525, obviously I'm talking like 425, that they could now start milling the herbs themselves. But obviously that next part is not too painful anyway, because you can just go around and get some origami recipes. But, I mean, me personally, I didn't bother doing that. I just spent even more gold and just crafted my way through it all, and then got to the point of making forged documents. But actually, at the moment, while not many people are doing this, and the herbs are super, super cheap, I find it just so much easier just to mass buy loads of herbs on one character, mill them all, and then you're using the ink trader. By the way, just in case you wondered, well, what do you do with them next? You're then trading the Blackfellow ink down to the ink that you actually need for your scribe from 1 all the way up to, say, 425. But that's it. I just wanted to put a quick video out because I did do a profession overview video, which if you've not seen it, go and check it out. I've done it both for the gathering professions, I've done it for fishing, I've done it for all the primary crafting professions, and I kind of touched on this there. Well, I probably spent a good few minutes talking about it, but I wanted to give you a lot more substance around it and why you should be doing it and why you should do it now, and I thought I'd just throw in how you can do it as well. Again, please don't start like flaming me in the comments being like, bro, why are you spending 1 gold on each herb when you could buy, I don't know, a stack of Silverbloom for 40 silver or something. I don't care. Like I'd not looked at any of that. I just went with the path of least resistance. You can go and look at things like Goldthorn or even Fellweed. You're going to make your gold back, because if you're spending, let's say, 70 or 80 gold on a stack of herbs from Outland and Northrend, it swings and roundabouts, so it kind of just doesn't matter. It's how I do it. If you want to do it the same way, then great, but I'm lazy and I don't mind spending like 1,500 gold on a profession, which is going to make me far, far, far more than that in the long run. So anyway, cool. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like and subscribe. I have got absolutely tons of MoP videos coming out over the next week or so, because I'm working on lots of them all at the same time. So again, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss that, and I'll see you on the next one.